what has been going on that I mean, there's always a lot of stuff going on politically, but
Yeah,
um,
something.
what's the thing you're choosing to bring up tonight?
Yeah, something I wanted to highlight. Have this conversation with you. Recently, maybe a day or two ago, saw um, followed a channel on YouTube called Black Conservative Perspective. I don't know the guy's name, but obviously a black man who shares his perspective, obviously as a conservative, a black conservative specifically. Which, yeah,
They
so
exist.
they do exist. Um, so he had highlighted this story about a Georgia State House of Representative, representative, I guess. House.
Yeah,
Anyway, and how she essentially her name's Misha Maynor, I believe. Let me get it right, Misha Maynor.
Misha Maynor. Yeah,
And so essentially, she's a Democrat or was. You know,
that's the point.
well, that's the point of the story. She was a Democrat. What happened was something in a bill came through the House of Reps, essentially from the conservatives, which was in support of essentially school choice. So essentially giving parents the freedom and the ability to choose where their kid gets an education so that the kid can get the best education. Right? Sounds pretty common sense
I don't know why anybody
driven.
would be against school choice.
Yep. So there's that. Also add in that bill. Also, it was like help. It was giving aid to like parents for if they did want to go to do a private school route or a charter school route, or even homeschool. It was going to give them like a some type of benefit or some type of aid to be able to help them with those things if they
Financially,
right financially, or even maybe like a tax break or something like
which
that.
it should.
Sure, absolutely. Like if we should be encouraging parents to be involved in the process of raising their kids, obviously. So anyway, that was the bill that she was standing up for, but liberals don't like school choice. Like they hate it. It's like poison. I don't know why.
If
I
you're
honestly
if you're
haven't.
curious about looking into this at all more, Thomas Sowell,
Mm,
his thing for decades has been school
supporting
choice,
school choice. Yeah,
and he always he breaks it down really good.
yeah, yeah. Check that out. I love Thomas Sowell. Yeah, so that was what happened. So essentially, she had stood up as a Democrat against her own party and said, "No, I'm going to support this because it's what's best for my constituents, my district. Her district is predominantly black. Her district is predominantly struggling in terms of school. Like their schools are terrible, and she wanted to give her community other options." And so she made the case from the floor and said to her colleagues in the Democratic Party and across the aisle, to the conservatives across the aisle, why she was standing up for this and why she was going to not follow party instructions, if you will. So long story short, she stood on her ground and said, "No, I'm going to support this because it's what's best for the people that I serve."
A
Um,
politician actually following principles and doing
yeah,
what's best for the people.
and in turn, the Democrats actually put out
We don't want you
a
to do that.
not only that, but they actually said we will pay anyone $1,000 to run against her to get her out.
No, they did. I
That
didn't
I
know about that.
legit that happened. Which is what put her over the edge because she had a quote before she even defected to the which. Let me finish the story. She defected to the Republican Party, the GOP. She is now a Republican as
I
of
actually
today.
didn't know that either. I
Yeah,
didn't know she went into the Republican
no, she
Party.
legit didn't just leave the Democratic Party. She is now a Republican.
Okay.
So but yeah, so they tried to run. They wanted to what they now call primary her, right? So run somebody in the same party against her to try to get her out and replace her, because they did not like just simply this position that she held by standing firm on her convictions. So um, there was a quote before she even made that decision. This was after she stood up for her morals and where she felt like she wanted to stand. She had a quote and said, "No, I haven't left the Democratic Party. We're fine. I'm good. Like I'm a Democrat, but this is where I stand on this issue." Then they started the whole like, no, we're gonna pay somebody to replace you.
That's
Which
wild.
actually, if I say it like that, that actually sounds really. We're gonna pay somebody to replace. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, that's what pushed her over the edge. It's like, no, I'm not. We're not doing that. And so she is now a Republican in the Georgia State House of Representatives in the 56th district. Yeah.
That's wild. I didn't know all that stuff. I just know some quotes from her during this whole situation. She said, today I made the decision to leave the Democrat Party. I represent a blue district in the city of Atlanta, so this wasn't a political decision for me. It was a moral one." And she said, "I will never apologize for being a black woman with a mind of my own. When I decided to stand up on behalf of disadvantaged children in support of school choice, my Democrat colleagues didn't stand by me." Uh, let's see, didn't stand by me. Maynard told Fox News Digital, asserting that her Democrat colleagues crucified her, air quotes, crucified her for supporting school choice and standing against efforts to defund police. She said she has always stood as the type of politician who will, quote, work across the aisle to deliver results for my community and the people I was elected to represent.
Yeah.
Another quote, "They abandoned me," she said, explaining again that her decision to leave the Democrat Party is not a political decision, but a moral one.
Yeah.
For far too long, this is another quote from her, for far too long, the Democrat Party has gotten away with using and abusing the black community.
That's a bar. That's a fact.
And, I mean, I'm going to just pose this as a question to you.
Hmm.
As what do you think somebody that is hearing this type of speech, like they could be, they may not pay attention to political stuff. They might just be under the assumption that, or under the life experience they have of, black people vote Democrat, white people vote Republican. That's all I pretty much know about politics.
Yeah.
If they're under that impression, how do you think, like, what are they supposed to hear what are they supposed to think when they hear a quote like that? For far too long, the Democrat Party has gotten away with using and abusing the black community. What do you do with that?
I don't know. I think I think that type of rhetoric is coming up. I remember even back in 2016 during the primary, Democratic primary, and Bernie was coming up. I went to a Bernie rally, and
I didn't know that.
Yep, I went to a Bernie rally in Philly at Temple University, and I stood in line for like hours and hours and hours. And the thing that I heard from most of the black people in line around me, the conversation most of the time was, "I'm here because I'm tired of the Democratic Party." And of course, at the time, Bernie was, yeah, Democrat. Well, actually, he was caucused as a Democrat, but he wasn't really a Democrat. He was an independent.
He's independent.
So, and still is. So, that was the whole thing when they were pushing back against Hillary. They're like, "No, we're tired of the Democratic Party. They promised us this, they promised us that. They say they like us, they say they want to serve us, and they've given us absolutely nothing." So it's growing, that rhetoric. I just don't think that there's still not enough education, I feel like, in the voter group to really see a big swing towards conservatism. Because I think you see a lot of them moving more left, which is concerning. But again, I don't know if it's because they've been given the tools to really think through some of these things and they're really just listening still to the mainstream media, which is something I mentioned before we even started the recording. Like, people trust and have historically, and there's a time where we could, but people still have a default trust in media. And so they believe, well, if big organizations say this and say that, you're supposed to vote Democrat, otherwise you're a bigot, they believe that. They take that as like gospel because
and it's what CNN it's what their grandparents have heard. It's what they've heard from their grandparents,
right.
What they heard from their parents,
right? And it's not been thought through. It's just a rhetoric. It's just something they hear. It's something that's spoken, and they just buy into it, and without really thinking about what they're buying into. I really think
it's what they hear from their churches. Honestly,
yeah.
A lot of black churches are just, and I mean that goes back to our episode. I don't know what episode it was. I don't know if it was
one of our early episode,
or an episode we did about abortion on my solo podcast, True Strength Life podcast, where I brought up that the early advocates of abortion, Margaret Sanger, all those people from Planned Parenthood, I don't remember if it was Sanger herself or somebody, one of like Sanger's basically apostles, but one of their whole things with getting this through to people in poor neighborhoods was they specifically said, well, one, this was a racist thing, abortion. Like
Yeah.
they wanted to use abortion to
Literally extinguish.
eradicate the black
Yeah.
population.
Yeah.
And they said specifically, there's letters where this is written down. They said that one way we'll do that is by using the ministers.
Mm.
Use it, get this
Mm.
get this to the ministers, and then when the ministers are saying our message that we want them to say
Yep.
about Planned Parenthood and about
Mhm.
women's rights and your my body my choice and all
Mhm.
that, when the ministers are saying that, then the people will go along with it.
Right.
So think about that.
Yeah.
That's pretty deep,
Yeah.
and that's spiritual warfare,
Yeah.
like right in your face.
Yeah.
Um,
It's heartbreaking to note like churches that Martin Luther King pastored. And I don't know if I can sit here and say I know where Martin Luther King would have landed on abortion, but I'm pretty sure he was pretty conservative socially. And so to know that the pastor of that church most recently, I guess he's not the pastor of it now since he's serving in the Senate, but now Raphael Warnock is the pastor of that church. And he is probably very far from where
he's
Martin Luther King would have been
he's
morally.
very loud and proud pro-choice.
Yeah, very pro-choice. So when you say black churches, I just want to make sure people don't think like you're being extreme. But what you're saying is there are churches like that, Raphael Warnock's church, Ebenezer Tabernacle or Tabernacle, something like that. Was the church that Martin Luther King
I thought there was
pastored.
Baptist in the name.
There is somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I think Ebenezer is in there. Anyway, so that's one example. Then you got pastors like Jamal Bryant,
That's another one.
who's just so far in the weeds of like, what?
Yeah.
Do you read your Bible? Like, what? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But there are churches like that, and they are
Go listen to Tony
predominantly.
Evans.
Yeah. If you need to find a good biblical black church, black teacher,
Vodi Bakum.
Tony Evans is your guy. Vodi Bakum's your guy. Debu. Remember that dude? What's that dude's name? Debu. It starts something like that.
What?
Anyway.
Another one's Virgil Walker.
Yeah, he's good.
That's another one.
Yeah. Anyway.
There is actually a lot. It's not every
No.
church is like this, but
no. But that's why I said like Aaron's speaking to like a very specific type of black church that does exist. Like it's not. Yeah, it very much exists. Even I would say like, oh, I don't even want to do that to him because he's got plenty of issues. But I'm not going to mention his name in this because he's definitely not that far. But like just like the celebrity pastor-esque type black churches tend to be a little bit more socially free, and by that I mean
progressive,
not
left,
not very tethered to the Bible and what it teaches. So I just wanted to clarify that because I don't want people out here like, oh, Aaron said black churches all. But yeah. So
I got my black friend to agree with me.
Yeah. I'm the token guy over. I exist to make sure Aaron's not called racist.
I appreciate you.
Yeah. I have to like tell people that's a joke.
so, but going back to her to this point,
yeah.
I could see somebody saying, "You're just pulling out this story just because it goes with your narrative of conservatives supporting conservatives."
Mm-hmm.
But there have been, or haven't there been, Republicans who have left recently?
Mm.
I'm sure that's a thing. I know that's a thing, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're leaving for different reasons, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on how you frame it, right? Like, Misha said, I haven't left the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party's left me. Essentially, she said they're getting too extreme. They've gone way farther left than where most centrist Democrats were even just 10, 15, 20 years ago. Yep. I think if you look at Republicans that are leaving the party, well, they're probably saying the same thing. That the Republican Party is no longer the Republican Party of 10, 15 years ago.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely... I mean, I've heard a lot of people say the left, or not the left, the Republican Party is very similar to the Democrat Party 20, 30 years ago. And what continues to basically what I've heard some people say what has continuously happened since basically the 50s 60s, when people started paying attention to this, real close. The Democrat Party has always steadily gone left. They keep continuing to go more and more progressive left, more and more towards Marxism, socialism, eventually communism. Like they keep going that way.
Mm-hmm.
Whether the actual crazy socialists out there, say like, "Oh no, the Democrat Party's not us at all," blah blah. It's going that way.
Mm-hmm.
The point is, it's going that way,
that direction. For sure.
And but what's happening? If you can picture this in like a chart, the Democrat Party keeps going more and more left, but it's not like the Republican Party has stayed in one spot on the right. They keep going left also.
I don't think everyone would agree with you though. I think
most people would.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so.
The Republican Party is definitely not. Well,
it depends on what. If you're talking about all right, yes. If you're talking about just party platform and legislation wise, I could understand the argument that they've gotten a little bit less fiscally responsible, which is a big part of conservatism. They've gone a little bit looser on social issues, and I think yes, to your point, that for sure. But I don't think that's why people are leaving the Republican Party. I think the Republicans.
So why is that?
I think the people that are leaving the Republican Party are leaving because there are people that are, I would say, have gone, that have not abandoned. Because I don't think that they're going right. I think that there's been a history of racism within the party. Like we can't deny that. So I think that there are people that just aren't willing to put up with the Trumps, even whether you did agree or disagree with him being racist, whatever. But like they believe that he's stoked something. And then you got people like Paul Gosar in the party who's literally showed up to neo-Nazi conferences and said, well, they're a voter group, and so it's okay. Like, there's people like that in the party, and I think that's what they're saying and rejecting it and saying, no, we're not going to put up with the fact that this party is going to get hijacked by neo-Nazi type people in the party, which I think is fair. So it depends on what you're looking at. If you're talking about like legit legislation of like social and fiscal things, yeah, they're probably everybody's going left. But I think that the people that are leaving, like which she hasn't left, but Liz Cheney, I just imagine her leaving the party soon, and I'm sure it'll be because of the moral aspect, not legislatively.
Moral because she personally is going more left.
No, moral because she doesn't want to put up with neo-Nazis in the party.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know which way because I don't know. Okay. I don't know anything about her.
Fair enough. Yeah. No, she's definitely more of like, yeah, I'm not going to put up with like a Trump type of person in our party.
Now, see, I've listened to some people recently that say they started not liking Trump because he's gone more left.
Yeah. I've heard those people.
Which I think is fair. I think
sure.
He was selling Pride hats, Pride mega hats.
Yep.
During Pride Month. He's still harping the vaccine out there. Still, never said a word about it. Being regretful or anything, or say about locking down for 3 months when he was president, or that he should have handled it differently, or that he should have fired Fauci, or he's never. If anything, he's doubled down on all that stuff.
Sure.
So that's why the truly conservative people that want to like hold to their principles are like, Trump, what are you doing? What's up? Why?
Yeah, I think the voter group as a whole is not a monolith, right? So it's like you got
none of them are.
Right, of course. Yeah. Of course. And I think you have people that feel that way. People that feel the complete opposite. Like it's weird. Like, because it's like you got the same set of facts almost in front of you. Some people are like, oh, that's too far left. Oh, that's too far right. Oh, he's just crazy and racist. Like, there's just so many different perspectives on why people make the decisions they do when it comes to their politics. And it's like hard to like say where most people are. But yeah, I don't know.
And if you totally think this take is absolutely nuts, you can make your own show. That's cool.
Yeah. And leave a comment too.
Curious. Yeah, let us know.